I welcome you to the 6th podcast in the series of Knowing God. Last time we learned that we ought to be behaving like a person made in the likeness of God and not stoop down to the level of animals. When we react good for good and bad for bad, we tend to behave like animals. And a man of God would only react in a godly manner, irrespective of the opponent's ill behavior. Keeping this in mind, let's dive into the Word of God for today. Today's topic is Sanctify and Be at Rest. Today's reading is taken from Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. And by the 7th day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which he had created and done. Here we see that God kept the 7th day as the day of rest. I want you to listen to this very carefully. That for God it was the 7th day, but it was the first day for man. As the man was created towards the end of the 6th day, and so his very first day was a day of rest. It means God wanted man to start his very first day by having fellowship with God first before going out to work for him. No other work, only fellowship. Adam and Eve were to work in the Garden of Eden only after they had spent a day in fellowship with their God. That is the divine order of man. Fellowship first and then the service. Nowadays we see all of us operating in contrast to the above order given by God. Why do I say so? Because we all are so engrossed in doing the work of God. We want to preach, we want to teach, we want to sing, we want to mentor, we want to counsel, we want to evangelize, we want to have a healing ministry, we want to do so many things for the Lord. But do we ask God about it? Do we ask for His guidance? Here God is reminding us to have a fellowship with Him and set it as a priority. We need to ask ourselves, are we spending enough quiet time with God, asking Him to guide us before venturing into any work? Remember, my friends, it's God Himself in the beginning. Then comes God's work. We often forget that order. From today on, let's remember it and remind others to have fellowship with God before getting started with any kind of work. Further in verse 3 it is mentioned that He sanctified that day and made it holy, and also rested on the same day. Wow! Sanctification and rest. Two different processes happening on the very same day. Such a beautiful thing. So much to learn from it. First of all, what do you mean by sanctification? Yes, it simply means being set apart as holy. As written in Genesis chapter 2 verse 3 in Amplified Version, we ought to be set apart to be holy like our God. Let's read Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11. Do not participate in the worthless and unproductive deeds of darkness, but instead expose them by exemplifying personal integrity, moral courage, and godly character. The Word of God says in the above verse, do not participate in the deeds of the darkness. That means be set apart. Set apart to do what? Set apart to be holy, and do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will, as Romans 12 verse 2 says. After God sanctified it, He rested. When we start having fellowship with God, and after that sanctifying ourselves by setting ourselves apart from the world to be holy, after all this, the very next thing we find ourselves doing is we should rest in the Lord. What do you mean by rest? Let's take an example to make it simple so that we can understand it clearly. In this world that we live in, when do we use this quote of rest in peace? That is RIP. When do we use it? We use it only when a person is not alive. I mean to say, we use that quote only when a person is completely dead. You and me who are in the Lord will find rest in the Lord only when we are dead in this world. Dead to the world means resting in the Lord. Rest means not doing anything, being still, being dead to the world and allowing God to work through us. That's exactly the meaning of resting in the Lord. Psalms chapter 46 verse 10a says, "Be still and know that I am God." So my friends, let's have a beautiful quiet time with the Lord. Be set apart as to be holy, and lastly, rest in the Lord by being dead to the world, that is, by not conforming to the patterns of the world. And as we do so, we'll surely be blessed. God bless you.